Welcome to the Intuitive Pool podcast and welcome to season 6. This is a time of harvest. This season is dedicated to bearing the fruits of your labor as we come into alignment with your full joy, your full trust, your full faith, and your fullest expression of your leadership today. I am so excited about sharing this next season with you. Hi, beautiful Intuitive Pool community. This episode is going to be an audio episode. I ran a masterclass this morning live with 17 beautiful people, and I have to say it was bloody powerful. The clarity that was received, there were breakthroughs that happened today, and absolutely has the opportunity to really make 2025 be a season of abundance, to really experience 2025 as a season of abundance. I decided not to share the full masterclass here with you on the podcast because I just think it's respectful not to put people's shares out into the big wide world, and even to have their faces and names here on this podcast. So the way that I am creating this particular episode is I am sharing what I spoke about this morning. There are times where you're going to be invited to go into some writing, some reflective writing, and also a stream of consciousness writing. So you'll need to pause. So make sure that when you do this episode, or when you're with this episode, you are able to actually be sitting down and writing out. That would make a lot of sense to me. And just forgive me because it is a bit choppy and changey, because there are times where I have cut people's shares out and I come in and give a little bit of context. I hope that you really enjoy this masterclass. It was very wonderful to facilitate, and in fact to even create. There was a lot of harvesting happening around my notes to self to create this particular masterclass. Happy New Year, everybody. Loads and loads of love, and thank you for being with me here in 2024. And here is to 2025 being a time of harvest and beautiful madness. So welcome to this masterclass. I have given so much love to this masterclass. I have been harvesting really over the last month. There's a lot of energy. I don't know if you can feel it, but there's a lot of energy today. I woke up early. I took myself down to Freshwater Headland, where I write my notes to self overlooking the ocean. And wow, I don't think I've ever felt like I feel today any other New Year's Eve. And can you, yeah, so Kelly just felt it too. So I don't know if anybody else can feel it, but I also don't feel like I've been energetically as prepared for the new year as I am this year. So I want to just start by talking about really what I have been harvesting. I have been harvesting what I call notes to self. So for the people who work with me, you know what they are. In fact, you write them yourself. But for the past 20 years, I have been writing. And Linda, who is on the call, was actually there in a program that we were participants in, where I wrote a piece that actually totally changed my life, had me leave my HR career, had me explore what this piece that arrived around "You're here to ignite people's spirits and hearts." I had to understand what that meant. And I wrote it out, and I tuned in and I wrote it out, and then I became a coach. That was never part of the plan. I used to work with Gavin in HR. I always thought I'd be working in HR. I never thought I'd be doing this. So 20 years ago is when I became a coach. So notes to self for me are the most amazing way of becoming present. So sometimes notes to self are from God, the universe. Sometimes notes to self are channeled from other dimensions. Sometimes notes to self are me in my humanity, expressing my humanity. Sometimes my notes to self are, the bigger version of me, the soul version of me that's speaking through me. I only started calling them notes to self a couple of years ago when I was pulled to take myself for a week to Queensland to just simply to write. And I thought I was writing something and it ended up writing something else, and they were called notes to self. So officially they've been called notes to self for the past couple of years. So this masterclass has been created by harvesting my notes to self. So I'll be reading some of them to you, and you'll be writing your own today as well. So this morning, as I said, I took myself to Freshwater Headland by the beach and I wrote a note to self, a short one, and I want to start today's masterclass by reading this to you and seeing how this lands with you. It's called Crossing the Finishing Line with So Much Knowing. Well, here we are, the 31st of December, about to deliver a masterclass. It's harvest time. I am a bag of feelings this morning. Nervous, excited, happy, and so knowing. I don't think I have ever felt so certain about a new year as I have in the last month. Not at a level of detail, but at a contextual level. 2025 is harvest time. All the preceding years have led to this moment. All the commitment, all the discipline, all the discernment. I just let somebody in. All the awareness, the undoing, the facing into self, the blind spots, the expansion, the leaps, all the moments of beautiful madness, the vulnerability and honesty, the leadership, the sacred leadership, the impact, the ripples. And I was taking that all in and I was just like, big breaths out, like I was literally breathing out, big breaths out. It's truly harvest time. Oh, it makes me emotional. The tilling of the soil, the weeding and removal, the returning back to purity, then the planting of seeds, the nurturing, cultivating, the growth. It's been a life commitment. Again, I was feeling all of that in, I was breathing out. And now it's a time of harvest where the culmination of all that is of service, of all that is of service to something much greater than ourselves. Much, much greater than ourselves, from a place of joy, from a place of grace, from a place of fire, from a place of faith, and from a place of glorious, beautiful madness. What will we harvest? Our zones of genius. The ones we know about, the ones we don't know about, and the ones we've been afraid of. Because it's a time of harvest. As I cross the finishing line of 2024, I am immensely grateful. So I don't think that what we're going to be doing here today is what you would imagine we're going to be doing here today. I gave a bit of a hint when I talked about zones of genius and how the idea of harvesting our zones of genius, so again, the zones of genius that we know about, the zones of genius that we don't know about, and I'll share about that in a minute, and the zones of genius that we're afraid about or afraid of, this is what we're going to harvest. Now, how this came about is on the 23rd of December. Actually, first of all, I'll go backwards. On the 27th of November, I was at the car wash. And I was having my car washed, and as my car was being cleaned, because I was picking up my auntie from the airport that night for my mum's 90th birthday the following day, I was walking around Beacon Hill and I was recording out a note to self. So sometimes I'm not in front of my laptop, so I can't actually type. So when I can feel one coming, I just simply grab my phone and I record into notes. And that's how my notes to self get recorded. So I was recording out these notes to self, and out came the theme. It's harvest time. 2025 is harvest time. I didn't know that. I didn't know that until I was at the car wash, walking around Beacon Hill, becoming present, and then out comes, right? I feel like it was a note from the universe, a note from God telling me that 2025, I can feel the emotion. I don't know if you guys can feel it, but I feel emotional when I say it. It's harvest time. When I receive that, it's harvest time. So that's how the theme of It's Harvest Time came about. Now, on the 23rd of December, I've had the most beautiful, beautiful time from then until now. So much reflection time, so much writing, and so much preparing for this masterclass. I don't know how this happened. It wasn't like as if I decided rationally to do this, but I just had this pull to write out all my moments of what I'm calling beautiful madness that changed the course of my life. Right? So about 6 weeks ago, I was walking with a friend called Charbel, who most or some of you know him, and he said to me, Giselle, all your moments that have changed your life have been ones of beautiful madness. Now, I'd never actually used those words, and it was such a gift that he gave those words to me. It was such a gift. So on the 23rd of December, I decided to write out all my moments of beautiful madness that changed my life. I wrote out 30, and it wasn't hard. I just was, first, second, third. The first one was when I was 25, bang, 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 right up until now. I know that I've missed some as well. And then I saw a common theme as I finished writing them out. I saw a common theme. And the common theme was that all of those moments of beautiful madness were me leading from faith that is beyond reason, that is beyond evidence, and beyond circumstances needing to be in place.
It's increased.
Right? So all of those moments of beautiful madness were all led from a level of faith within me that was beyond reason, beyond needing evidence, and beyond needing circumstances to be in place. And that's when I realized that that was a zone of genius that I had that I didn't know I had, because it was so who I am, right? It's so part of me. It's just is me that I couldn't see it until I wrote it out. I've always known about, no, I've not, no, that's not true. I haven't always known. I became aware of a zone of genius in 2013 of my intuition and my ability to feel and see and know things. So I've worked with that consciously since 2013, but I did not know about this zone of genius that has changed the course of my life. As I said, 30 times. They're at least the ones that I could remember on the 23rd of December. So when I was in so much appreciation of that, around this zone of genius, of having such an innate level of faith that's beyond reason, that's beyond evidence, that's beyond circumstances needing to be in place, I realized, I did a note to self, and this expression came out, and I just fell in love with it. And the expression was, faith nurtures what reason cannot yet conceive. Faith nurtures what reason cannot yet conceive. So beautiful. Faith has nurtured all along my life, from that moment when I was 25. Faith has nurtured what reason cannot yet conceive, until it does. So we have zones of genius that we know about. So asking you to connect in with yours. Zones of genius that we don't know about, and I'm going to take you on an exercise in a minute where you'll be able to identify what's just been so innate within you. And then there's a third one. Now, this third one came, what's today? Tuesday. It came on Sunday. I went to the most amazing sound healing session in DY, If anybody's for the Northern Beaches people, it's sound healing is with holding space with Beck. That's what it's called, holding space with Beck. Just beautiful. And it was even before the sound healing happened. It was just simply sitting in that space that I became aware of a third zone of genius, or a third quality of zone of genius, right? So the ones that we know about, the ones that we don't know about, there was a third one that came to me as soon as I sat down in that space. And this one, when I've shared this one-on-one with people this week, I've had tears. Tears have happened. So it's the zones of genius that we're afraid of. It's the zones of genius that we've put in the cave that we're feared to enter. We don't want to go there, right? We don't want to go there. We've resisted it. We've neglected it. We've made it absent from our life. And I'll share what mine is, and it's so ironic, is I'm afraid of using my voice. Now, isn't that ironic? Right? I'm afraid of using my voice. I have a podcast, and yet I'm afraid of using my voice. I'm delivering a masterclass, yet I'm afraid of using my voice. So I have made a choice, and I can feel, I can feel it. I can feel the fear as I'm saying that out loud here. I've made a choice for 2025 that, oh God, I feel emotional, that I'm going to harvest that zone of genius. I'm going to use my voice. I'm going to use my voice. I'm going to use it more regularly like this than I have in the past. I'm taking off the shackles. I'm taking off the bars that I've put on the doors to keep the door closed of using this voice in whatever capacity. And Misha knows this, and I am going to finally write the book that has been wanting to be written for 20 years. And I'm going to be attending, I'll put the details of your program in the follow-up email, Misha. Misha will be delivering a program called Beyond the Opening from February for 4 months. I'm going to be using her incredible work as the background to really go beyond, my identity of being afraid of using my voice. So, all right, so they're the 3 zones of genius. So what I would like you to do now, so I'll just repeat this because I know there's a few people that have just come back. Very briefly, on the 23rd of December, I wrote out what I defined as being moments of beautiful madness. I wrote out 30 moments of beautiful madness that changed the course of my life. And then I realized what the common denominator between all of those moments of beautiful madness was. And it was that I have faith beyond reason, beyond evidence, beyond circumstance. I know, Iwana, you love that. I mean, that's reflects you as well. And so now I didn't know that until I wrote that out, right? I didn't know that. So now I'm choosing to harvest that. So I would love you guys to go into an exercise. And, maybe you have not defined it as moments of beautiful madness that have changed your life. If that does resonate with you, I invite you to go and start noting the moments of beautiful madness that have changed your life. Just note them down. Just note them down to start with. Or if there's another theme that more resonates with you that is true for you, that changed your life, just go with that. So I'll give you 10 minutes. You can feel free to go off camera. And I'm going to just go into free flow. And then in 10 minutes time, I'll write up some questions. The moments that changed your life. So as I edit this masterclass, I want to jump on here and give you the questions that I posted up in the comments section in the masterclass live. So first of all, you're going to be noting, as I said already, moments of beautiful madness that changed your life. I wrote down 30 that just came to me, those life-changing moments. For For me, I call them moments of beautiful madness. You might call them something else. Once you've written down all those moments that changed your life, I want you to have a look at if there is a common denominator between all those moments and note what that is. And that will be your zone of genius that you didn't know you had. Because it was so natural to you, it was just part of you that you couldn't see it. After you've done that, I want you to start looking at the zone of genius that you've been afraid of. So you might want to write down these questions. I think it would be very helpful to do that, and then go into the process. So these are the questions. Can you identify the zone of genius you already knew about? Can you identify the zone of genius you didn't know about? And now when you start looking at your life-changing moments, have a look at what is absent in your list. What have you been avoiding? Can you identify the zone of genius that you've been afraid of? Can you see its treasure there? Treasure that you've been afraid to claim. Enjoy the process. May it be enlightening as it was for the people on the live masterclass. So I want to keep moving. Again, for those who work with me, you know that I have this thing, I call it a map. So as I go about life and I learn things, I add it to the map. I have this massive whiteboard. Each year has a theme, and 2025, there's two themes actually for 2025. It's harvest time, and it's also a time of beautiful madness. And so whenever I receive something that's related to that theme, I put it to the map. And so, as I said, I've been harvesting my notes to self for this masterclass. And I have already been putting things on the map for its harvest time. One of the things I realized around its harvest time is that it's not a time where the phoenix rises. So you know the times where we rise and we fall, and we rise and we fall, and we rise and we fall, and we get to rock bottom and we rise again. If you think about it, if you really think about it being a time of harvest, that doesn't belong here. It doesn't. Unless our crop gets obliterated, but we're hoping that that's not going to happen, right? It doesn't mean that we're not going to go and weed, because we are going to go and weed, and there'll always be layers of the onions that will peel. There'll always be. But that whole, the up and down, the pendulum, the big pendulum swings, it's not a time for that in a time of harvest. We talk about a lot in the personal growth world, shadow work. And I have done a lot of shadow work. I know you guys have done a lot of shadow work, about our blind spots that have been sitting in the shadows, and areas of our, ego, areas of our humanity that have been sitting in the shadows, and we go and excavate for them, bring them to the light. In a time of harvest, we are working with a shadow, but we're working with what light has been in the shadows. We're wanting to pull out the light. We're wanting to pull out the light that has been in the shadows. That's what we're bringing out from the shadows, not so much as the main focus, where our fear-based selves live. Yes, we're tending to that when we need to, but the majority of the focus is pulling the light out from the shadows. So if you think about this conversation around our zones of genius, right? The ones that we didn't even know we had, and the ones that we've been afraid of, we are pulling them out, we're bringing them to the light. And yes, it's not easy, like as Juan is cringing, Margaret's cringing, Niles, I think you're okay, Brian. You feel okay. But that's the work that we're doing, okay? That we're pulling out the light, we're bringing the light out from under the shadows. That's the main focus. I did a note to self, and I'm going to read it to you. I want it to be like an activation for you, and I'm going to ask you to go into a piece of writing. You can go into it whilst I'm reading it to you, or you can go into it after I finish reading it to you. But why I'm reading it to you is because I want to activate the fire within you, and I want to activate the faith within you, right? As we pull out the light from the shadows. So I wrote this on the 4th of December. Only 3 weeks ago. And it's entitled, How Dare I Not Claim My Leadership? I want to see you as I read. It's hard to do both. Okay. So obviously this is about me, but let this activate you. How dare I not claim my leadership so that I don't feel uncomfortable in other people's eyes, in other people's opinions of me, whether those judgments are perceived or real. How dare I not claim my leadership when I am the one who has devoted over 2 decades to my self-leadership and have emphatically placed that above everything else, even when others couldn't understand that I had no choice but to. How dare I not claim my leadership when that devotion has always been in service to the translation of how these lived experiences and wisdom amassed can be of service to others. How dare I not claim my leadership when I am the one who has never turned my back on my own inner game, no matter how painful or joyful, and all the emotions in between, no matter how visible and tangible on the outside, or how invisible in its still forming, requiring faith state. How dare I not claim my leadership when my commitment to my relationship with myself in service to the God within me and the God within you has been unequivocal, unconditional, and unquestionable, and the only thing that matters the most. How dare I not claim my leadership when my faith in the divine perfection of it all has seen things that others couldn't see because they were more committed to fear and limitation than to love and its possibilities, or just because they didn't have the capacity to see. How dare I not claim my leadership that lives in the multidimensional plane, that sees, hears, feels, and knows things invisible to the human eye and unexplainable to the reasoning of the human mind. How dare I not claim my leadership when humility has proven to be our most trusted ally of change, and the causal relationship of unconditional self-responsibility our most transformative state of change. How dare I not claim my leadership? How dare I not stand in the faith and the fire of my leadership? How dare I not wave a flag that asserts what's been biting us on the arse for years can finally come to full and complete resolution and freedom? How dare I not forecast that new energy that's alive and electric will arrive, in contrast to the closed off, vicious circles, patterns of addiction, distraction, and trauma? How dare I not suggest that it is our role to break the sound barrier of what is possible as we create this new earth together? How dare I not advocate that we live and lead a life of beautiful madness? How dare I not claim my leadership? This is a time of harvest, of standing tall in all the years I've devoted to my inner game, in the years I've devoted to having faith to see the bigger picture for us all, no matter how dark and absent of light the circumstances have been. This is a time of harvest, of standing tall in all the years I've invited in the power of humility, the power of not knowing, and the power of letting go. This is a time of harvest, of standing tall in all the years I've walked with that quiet inner declaration of trust and faith it is to be on our knees. This is a time of harvest, of standing tall in all the years I've leaned into my humanity and brought the shadow into the light and returned fear after fear after fear back home to love. This is a time of harvest, of standing tall in all the years I have let go of control and surrendered and leaned into God the universe, knowing that the plans I didn't know I had to make were always the ones I had to take that always bore the most fruit. This is a time of harvest, of standing tall in all the years I have devoted to listening, not to the voice of my ego, but to that quiet, intuitive voice that speaks of words and ways that I don't hear in the world at large, that have always guided and loved me forward into a life of authenticity. This is a time of harvest, of standing tall in all the years I've chosen to bring utter resolution and completion to what has been unresolved in the form of addictions, distractions, half-truths, withholds and denials. And I honour my commitment to leaving no stone unturned. This is a time of harvest, of standing tall in all the years of my life transformed in significant life-changing ways because I have taken unconditional self-responsibility. And I will continue taking unconditional self-responsibility until my last breath for the invaluable value it beholds. This is a time of harvest, of standing tall in all the years I've made decisions that sit at the level of beautiful madness, beyond reason and rationale, beyond evidence and justification, because I was intuitively led. This is a time of harvest, of standing tall in all the years I've had the courage to stand for the miraculous in my life, proclaiming the only standard of measurement is the standard of nothing but miracles in all its multidimensional forms, including death and life. This is a time of harvest, of standing tall in all the years I've had the lens through which I could see the life-changing shift in perception that changed everything. Sometimes instantaneously, and other times holding in faith the longer unfolding game. This is a time of harvest, of standing tall in all the years I've chosen authenticity and freedom and contribution and joy, rather than compromise, and have reaped rewards that were greater in their generosity than my imagination could ever have believed. This is a time of harvest, of standing tall in my zones of genius, including the one I've been afraid of, using my voice because I know momentum lives here. This is a time of harvest. And so what I'd like you to do now in a stream of consciousness writing is to begin with, how dare I not claim my leadership? And this is a time of harvest, of standing tall in. Again, I'll put it in the chat. How dare I not claim my leadership? And go into stream of consciousness writing. And then this is a time of harvest, of standing tall in all my years of. Enjoy. Again, I'm jumping in here as I'm editing this masterclass that I ran live. So please go into a stream of consciousness writing, beginning with how dare I not claim my leadership, and see where it takes you. Once you've completed that piece, then go into a stream of consciousness writing again, beginning with this is a time of harvest, of standing tall, and just allow it to take you wherever it wants to take you. I would have loved to have shared what people wrote. It was dynamic, electric, sharp, zero ambiguity, extreme clarity. But I don't want to share it here because I want to keep their shares private to the people that were there live on the call. I think that's, for me, that feels respectful. So just know, not from a place of comparison, But just know that this exercise has the opportunity to give you a level of clarity that could change your life. So I hope you enjoyed that process. I hope it really was electrifying in the clarity that you received. Please feel free to email me or message me with what you received. I love to hear what happens on the other side of this microphone. So again, it's a little bit choppy and changey because I am editing people out. The next piece is a piece that I was pulled to share when somebody was sharing earlier on. So please forgive the choppy and changiness of this piece, and I hope that it is what you needed to hear. So actually, which brings me to the point that I wanted to share when Brian was saying, it's time to break the rules. It's time to break the rules. When it's coming from a purity of intention and from a place of integrity, right? That has to be. Otherwise, we're just breaking the rules for breaking the, just to create a mess and create chaos. We're not. From a place of integrity and a place of purity, let's break the rules. I remember, maybe 5 years ago, my intuition started bringing people to me in meditation that just start arriving. And I'd be like, what are you doing in here? And then I started receiving information about them. And one of the people that I received was my coach's wife. And I thought, how inappropriate. I don't even know her. I knew her name. How inappropriate that I'm getting this information about my coach's wife. That is such a boundary cross. That is so wrong, right? Like, one is laughing. And then I had a session with my coach and I just told him I just need to get out of me. Like, there was no agenda, nothing. And he said to me, Giselle, you could not have been more spot on. You could not have been more spot on. And then he said this thing to me that made me coach with him for the next year, and I have just finished my 7th year with him. He said to me, how could talking to God ever be a boundary crossed? Right? So that's what I mean by breaking the rules. Like, as long as there's purity there and it's coming from a place of integrity, whatever the vision is, whatever the mission is, whatever the action is, how could talking to God ever be a boundary crossed? How could it ever be wrong? So I want to complete this masterclass just by saying thank you, thank you, thank you. What a joy it has been to be with you. So much energy here. So grateful. My heart is like overflowing. And how dare I not claim my leadership and say to those of you who knew you had to be here, who knew you had to receive what you received, and who have a knowing and an intuition that you want to continue the conversation, that you want to continue the experience, whether it feels scary to do so, because it probably does, because that would mean holding you accountable to what has been declared here, and holding you accountable to 2025 being a time of harvest and to being in your zones of genius, especially the ones that you're afraid of. So I started a program called My Best Year Yet, which Misha and Jackie and Linda are in. We started in November. It is exactly what has happened here. We use notes to self. Notes to self is the medium. So I ask people to write notes to self at least 3 times a week. And then we come together and we share them and we do what we just did here. Now, obviously, for 2025, My Best Year Yet, which by the way was named because one of the people that I was coaching in Sacred Leaders said, Giselle, this has been my best year yet. I thought, that's the name of the program. She's also in My Best Year Yet. So I would like to invite you into that program. Hello, it's me again for the final time on this masterclass that I keep coming in and putting my voice in. So I made a special offer to the people who came live to My Best Year Yet, and to people who are listening to the recording of this masterclass on the 31st of December. I made a special offer. Now, more than likely, people are going to be listening to this podcast episode after the 31st of December, so that offer does not make sense. So I just want to be really simple. We don't need to complicate things here. If you're pulled to come into My Best Year Yet, an amazing program of community and sacred relationship and, just beautiful exchanges. There was such a beautiful exchange that happened yesterday, in fact, when someone was really hard activated by a choice somebody else had made in the previous call. Just beautiful. So if you're pulled to come into this group program, if group is for you. You just know, and I trust you know what is true for you. If group is true for you, just reach out to me and we can talk about pricing for My Best Year Yet. We are having our first call for the year this Friday, the 3rd of January at 9 a.m. Sydney time, AEDT. But if you listen to this podcast episode after that, as I said, we don't need to complicate things. Just reach out to me and we can talk about how that would work for you and whether you can pay up front or whether you need a payment plan. And the other thing I just want to throw in here, I just really trust that you know what is right for you. In contrast to what I've just talked about group, if you feel like one-on-one is the way that you need to go for you in 2025, I trust that you know. Again, reach out. We can do 3 months, we can do 6 months, we can do a whole year. Reach out, let's talk about how that works. Let's talk about how the payment plans happen in relation to that. And if you've just got that knowing, I just want to say, go with it. Go with it. This is the time to go with it. End of the year, beginning of the new. Just go with it. So outside of that, thank you for joining me on this masterclass. I will be running many more regular masterclasses going forward. Now that I get to use my voice, I look forward to you joining me. Happy New Year. Here's to 2025 being the most magnificent time of harvest, a season of abundance, recognizing all of the wisdom and experience that you've amassed, and may it be a time of beautiful, glorious madness.